come to know.
Yeah.
My wife was being dumb and the audio was off, so I gotta retell you what I was saying. All right, repeat or I'm rewinding. So, anyways, the when it comes to the whole reptilian phenomena, I know it's not a phenomena because these creatures have been, here with us ever since the fallen angels have interbreeded with humans and created the Nephilim. Um, these creatures have been with us forever, and they've been trying to hide this stuff. The government, the powers that be, these elite pedos, they want to hide this stuff from the public. They want to hide this because if this comes out to the public, they will know for a fact that the Bible is real and 100% truthful, and Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior, and yeah, they don't want that to happen to the public, because once the public realizes that the government and the powers that be have been hiding this for centuries, for years, that a lot of people will go close to the Bible and will start following Jesus Christ with all their heart, all their might, and all their soul. So you have to understand that this is spiritual warfare at a mass scale, and the powers that be know that these creatures or are working with these creatures, and they're in higher up levels of government, and majority of these creatures that are in higher up levels of the government, they are basically runners of the banking cartel, which I say that the people who run the whole financial industry, when it comes to money, they want to push this digital dollar to make it more intertwined with them, controlling the public and the masses and what they buy. So you have to understand that this phenomena of the reptilian human race or reptilian race, is real. These creatures are real. We don't know what else exists in this world. The ocean hasn't been fully, discovered, and we're still discovering new things as we tag along. But understand that there is a satanic aquarium kingdom. That's also another phenomenon, but we're just gonna focus right now on the reptilian side of things, and we're gonna go off with this Bible verse. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men or of renown. So yeah, this all started like in Genesis, like I said, in the days of Noah. When it comes to these things, a lot of people don't want to, do their research on this or not believe it at all. Some people, like I said, they're atheists and they rather believe, whatever science tells them or whatever science has created or whatever science has discovered. But in actuality, these things have been done for time immemorial. DNA entwined with the fallen angels and humans. All these things and creating these giant osprey of demonic beings. And that's why when it comes to the whole demon phenomena stuff, the fallen angels, their souls, their spirit is what are demons in today's world. That's why, these unclean spirits, because they're unclean, they're not clean at all. They run the earth and they run, the powers that be, and they possess these people in order for them to have access and control to all of the human race, because it's all about power with these people. These demonic reptilians are soulless. They don't care about the human race. They'll do whatever it takes. That's including sacrificing children and, abusing children at that point as well. But it doesn't stop there. But it's also, making all humans, go to war with one another. And that's another thing that they like to do, is cause destruction and chaos. And the powers that be know this. They know that this is a very truthful phenomenon, and they hide it from the public because if the public knows and has recognition about these things, they'll turn to Jesus Christ real fast. So, yo, 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 what's up, what's up, what's up? Yeah, yeah, I'm telling you, man, they don't want me to be speaking, you know. You know, when the people start listening and understanding what people are saying, especially when it comes to Jesus Christ, you know, YouTube is very, very sensitive to those topics, you know. But they want you to watch, you know, girls twerking. They want you to watch people drinking alcohol, fornicating. They want you to watch people doing drugs. They want to make you watch brain rot and all that crap, you know. You know what I mean. But I'm not here for all that crap. I'm here to speak some truth to you, or try to speak some truth to you. You know what I mean? Because I'm just a man. You know, follow Jesus Christ. Don't follow me. I'm just the messenger. You understand? So, anyways, when it comes to this reptilian stuff, you know, when I was younger, it always been around me. And this is a crazy part. When I was in elementary school, you know, actually, you know, more farther back, you know, when I was around 8, 9 years old, you know, my father bought me a Nintendo 64. If you people know what a Nintendo 64 is, it's one of those game consoles where you put those cassettes in, you know. And there was a game called Turok, which the one that I was playing was called Turok Seeds of Evil 2. It's a very old game, but it involves, you guessed it, these reptilians. Yep. And as I got older, you know, a new game came out. You know, I was playing it for the Nintendo GameCube, the PlayStation 2, and the Xbox. And it was called Turok Evolution. Yeah, you see where I'm going with this. But this video game is a game where you play as a Native American character, which gets, you know, basically you go into the future and you fall into a portal, and this portal takes you to the future where these reptilian humanoids are in charge of it, and they are enslaving mankind. So I just pulled out one of these scenes, you know, from that game, which man, this thing aged like fine wine. So I found the video, and I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna play this video for you, so you can understand what I was always surrounded by this stuff. You know, there was always hints, and the powers that be always give hints by movies, shows, and video games as well, because they have to get to the children as well. But you know, you like I said, you play as a Native American character who got sucked into a portal into the future, and these creatures are enslaving mankind, these reptilian hybrids. All right, I'm gonna play I'm gonna play the video for you people, and let's go check it out.
Brothers, today we begin our historic march toward Galiana, the fabled city of light. We stand on the verge of our greatest victory in the holy war to purify this land and rid the world of the last remnants of resistance. Those that would oppose us oppose our righteous cause. Those that oppose our cause oppose our rule. And those that oppose our rule die! We are the sacred blade. We are the holy fire.
So did you see that? Did you hear what that creature was saying? You know, and it's freaking wild, because you know, it's just crazy that this whole thing that, you know, has been going on in front of my eyes. You know, me thinking that it was just, you know, just a fairy tale when it comes to this stuff, and I was like, oh, it's just a video game. You know, there's nothing to worry about it. But you know, in today's world, you know, we're starting to see these people on the news, and people that are, you know, in high powers that be in the government, and their eyes are slit, and they're trying to hide behind the mask. And it's just wild at the times that we're living in. We're seeing these things progressively get more spiritually more connected to the physical realm, and these demons, these reptilian humanoids are coming into the light, and we're starting to see that darkness in these people that are in power. And it's a lot more harder for us to understand it, but the more we see it, the better we educate ourselves that these things do exist and they are real, you know. And yo, what's up, man? Overcomer Diana, what's up, man? What's up, Bonnie? Good to see you. What's up, David? Good to see you guys. You know, I've drove to Montana. It's pretty beautiful out there. And but yeah, I showed you this video because you know I play video games, and you know I was a gamer, you know, when I was younger, and all these things, you know, that I seen and saw, and I was just like, man, some of these things can't be real. You know, some of these things are entertainment. But when, you know, now in today's world, you know, the way I see, you know, the whole world and the reptilian, you know, the reptilian race hiding themselves behind human masks and stuff and trying to play human when in reality these things are like soulless. You know, that video game, you know, it aged like fine wine, and it was these powers that be that made this video game were warning us, you know. And it wasn't a giant, you know, gaming crew that created this game. It was actually a small group of individuals, you know, probably like 50 people that made this video game. So it was a very small, minuscule amount of people who made it, you know. Ooh, Washington State. Ooh, Diana. Yeah, I've been to Washington State a couple of times. I actually went to a shooting range out there. It was pretty nice because, you know, Oregon ended up closing all their ranges that you can go over there. But yeah, I've been to Vancouver and stuff. It was pretty nice out there too. I had to drive over the bridge, you know, between Oregon and Washington to, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, Bonnie. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, it's just crazy how things are. You know, these video games they tell kids stuff. You know, and the kids they just mind and just play. You know, and it just continues moving on forward until they get older and they're like, oh, dude, that's crazy. Like, look, now this stuff's happening. I play this video game. They'll remember, you know. That's why when the whole reptilian stuff, I remembered about that video game. I'm like, whoa, whoa, like this stuff is it's telling us something, you know. And the majority of the stuff that they hide is majority in video games because adults, parents especially, you guys won't play them. You know, we as children play them, and you know, me growing up, you know, my mom, you know, she was busy majority of the time, so I just played video games, you know, and I tried to do my homework. You know, I wasn't that, you know, smart of a kid, you know, when it comes to, you know, literature and books and stuff, you know, and all that. But besides all that, have you guys ever watched the show V? That's right, V. I know probably you've heard of some YouTubers talking about it, but I watched the older show of V and I watched the newer version. But right now I'm just gonna talk about the older version. But this series is, oh man, you know, this this show really got to me because it's an old show and has a bunch of CGI and stuff. But man, is it get deep? It gets really deep, you know. Yeah, they say that they come from light years away, from a different planet or whatever. It came out in October 26, 1984. What a coincidence! Isn't there a movie called 1984? Oh, man, you can't. The symbolism never stops there. It never stops there, ladies and gentlemen. But this series right here, man, it's a crazy one, you know. And of course the powers that be, you know, there's no such thing as, you know, outer space and different planets, you know, because we're trapped in a firmament. It says that, you know, the waters of the waters, you know, it says it in Genesis, you know. And I know some people are going to be like, you know, gunslinger, you're a flat earther, you know. I don't know the shape of where we live at. I don't know, you know. I can't necessarily tell you that it's flat, but I can guarantee that we don't live in a spinning ball flying millions of miles per hour. I can guarantee you that. But, the shape of this earth that we live in, it's something we have probably never seen because the powers that be like to hide all this information. I'm telling you, if they were to disclose the truth to us 100%, we would 100, probably majority of the world, I'm saying majority, I'm not saying all of them, because there's Satan's children and then there's God's children. Majority of the people will go for Jesus Christ, and we don't know what's behind, in Antarctica and all that. I'm pretty sure it's the firmament, the walls, that enclose it, and all the countries in the world are together, hiding it from the people. If you understand that, well, we have a war against China, Russia, and we all hate each other in the world stage. But in reality, they all work together to guard Antarctica. Like, how does that even make sense? In this time world, we would probably see all the countries in the world fighting against one another to control it. But no. But there's peace in Antarctica. Like, it's all bullcrap. It's all bullcrap, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, Bonnie. Like Game of Thrones, it's flat. Yeah, we're under a firmament, man. We're under a firmament, Diana. Yep. I know some people will be like, it's flat. I know. I mean, yes and no. It's kind of funky, it's just funky, I can picture that because, water, you put something round on it, water's just going to spill on it, it's just going to fall right out. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, I can understand why it would be flat to have hold the waters up. You feel me? But besides all that, this show right here, this show that I'm trying to show you is that go watch it. You'll see a lot of symbolism when it comes to the reptilian race, and these people aren't hiding it, man. It's a very dark freaking show, It gets dark, the CGI and all that stuff. But they're trying to enslave humanity. They end up getting all the power, and they end up getting all the power from the government, ladies and gentlemen. The majority of it. They end up becoming empowered. So much so that they have literally their so-called secret police that watches everyone's moves and everything, And once the people start realizing that, they're taking people, yes, you heard me right, they're taking people and making them into cocoons so they can eat them. Because it's food that we're literally, this whole place that they are running is just literally, how you say, a farmhouse for humans. It is wild, man. It's wild. This show is deep, I'm going to go to the next picture. But supposedly they come in UFO shapes, and the technology in today's world, they're gonna deceive as many people saying that they came from a different planet or a different galaxy or whatever, and they're gonna try to persuade you that they are more intelligent than you, when in reality they probably are, but in actuality they have been here the whole time, and I'm telling you that the technology that they give us as humans is just to dumb us down, These evolutionists and all these people say that we're evolving and we're becoming better. No. What I've seen is we're devolving. We're going backward. We're becoming more dumber and more reliant on technology. And it's just dumb when these atheists and these scientific people want to tell you how that, oh, you're wrong about the Bible and all that stuff. But in reality, they don't want to take the Bible in. Because it's going to change the way they think. It's going to change their whole mindset about life. It's going to literally persuade their life and their lifestyle to be pushed in a different direction. They don't want that. They're afraid of change. A lot of people are afraid of change. And that's when it comes to this stuff. Yeah, Bonnie, I'm telling you, we're devolving. Yeah, they're bringing us back. They're making us dumber. That is their goal, to make us as stupid as possible. Why do you think they put that Sora AI? There, the the explicit content on the websites. They want us to not be, how you say, be more cold-hearted to one another. They tell you it's okay to cheat on your spouse. It's okay to go and fornicate. It's okay to, do drugs. It's okay to drink these spirits. It's okay to do all these things. But when you tell them about Jesus Christ and breaking chains of sin, they're like, no, 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 it's wrong. Don't do that. We're not going to listen to you. And then the people who have all these demons, they will encourage all that crap. I'm going to do a video tomorrow about that. And it's going to be a very deep video. But right now, I'm doing my live on V. Yeah, Diana. Yep, you're right. They have been led to believe a lie. Yes, Bonnie. Yes. I'm telling you. And that's why humans don't interact no more. They never talk to one another. I've been to so many stores and so, I'm a delivery driver for Uber and DoorDash and all that stuff. And when I go and talk to people, firsthand, some of these people they don't want to talk. They're too shy, and I have to be like, "Hey, where's my order at?" And then they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like, let me go get it." And they talk so low and so anxiety, and I'm just like, "What's like? Why are you even working here? You don't want to be around people." But they have to force themselves because you gotta make money to make a living. You understand? You feel me? And all these people are being played, by drugs and pharmaceuticals, and they think that they have this and this going on and this and this and that, but in reality it's just, that's what these scientists and the powers that be tell them that they need to feel that way. But it can also, the reason why they feel like that is because they are full of sin. They haven't broke the chains of sin. One chain, each chain that you continue breaking, you get yourself away from that. I've had a lot of anxiety in my life, a lot of it, but that was all had to do with sin. Doing, smoking weed, drinking alcohol, all that crap. That's where that anxiety came. It came from sin, but people don't understand that. And it came from fear as well. When you're watching explicit content and all that stuff, behind your parents' back and all that stuff, that anxiety grows because you're committing sin. You feel me? So, yeah. Yeah, Diana, yeah. It is an honor to be hated in His glory. Like today I was wearing this shirt, Jesus... preach. So it says preach Jesus. I was wearing that shirt, and then when I was picking up a delivery for food, and they're like, "Hey, where'd you get that shirt?" And I'm like, "Well, I got it at a yard sale." I know I don't wear that Louis Vuitton stuff. I don't go shopping at the mall for $80 pants. I like to keep it minuscule, man. Something I thank the Lord that my wife's pretty cheap when it comes to stuff. She's like, I don't want a new handbag. I don't want that. And I thank the Lord for that, for sure. If ladies are out there like that, I'm not judging. Sometimes we want the good stuff, you know what I mean? So it all comes down to that. And Bonnie, yeah. Bro, I can't cheap out on those tools especially for my wife. I can't. I'd be spending hundreds on bucks on that. Yeah, Diana, yeah. Yeah, they do have better stuff. Like, I found a lot of good stuff at the thrift store. Like some of the furniture that I get, this comes from the thrift store, or I buy it from somebody who has new items that are selling it for cheaper, or they're just trying to get rid of it because they're trying to move out. I mean, if you can afford it new, then more power to you. But I'm not gonna waste like $300 on the same couch that this guy's trying to get rid of. That's basically still new for like $75 or $50. Every penny counts. You know, in today's world, the economy is pretty bad. But besides all that, you know, these people are gonna come in these ships. You know, they're gonna come in these ships that the powers that be know. They already made these aircrafts, you know, that can hide from radar and sonar and all this other technology stuff. You know, like the B-52 stealth bombers. You know, those things can hide from radar, and they have to have this. You know, if the coding gets messed up, it's like $100,000 just to recode it. You know, and of course they're gonna disguise themselves like this. You know, to deceive the masses of thinking that there's another alien race out there, and that's just another way to control the people. You know, because once the people see, oh, there's aliens coming, there's a new alien race, they're gonna think that they're have less power than these demonic beings, and they're just demonic beings. I'm gonna go to the next picture. Yeah, you see how these demonic beings, how they hide themselves behind a mask, they hide behind themselves as a human being. Now, well, that's how they did it in the show, and you know how they came in? They came in super nice, welcoming, in peace. Yes, you heard me right. They came in peace. They wanted to help humanity and give them the biggest secrets as possible. And guess what they were doing also? They were taking all the resources for themselves and all the water. Yeah. And they were taking as many people as they can to these ships and cocooning them for food to go back to their next planet, supposedly. But that's how they hide themselves. You know, they have technology, these powers that be, these reptilian demons, they have powers that we cannot even imagine of, you know, because Satan, their father, gives them the power to do all these things. Like I said, the Bible says it as well, you know. I didn't say it, but the Bible says it, that Satan comes disguised as an angel of light. You know, and these people were coming as disguised as an angel. Yeah, they're frogs, Diana. They're really reptilians. You know what I'm saying? They're bad. These things are bad, and they think that they're gonna come and help the human race, but in reality, they're here to destroy it and cause chaos and havoc. You know, and also in the show, they were also spraying the skies, so they can breathe. They can try to reconstruct the air in Earth, basically, and so they can live and breathe in it, you know. And I guess that the humans ended up realizing what they were doing, and they ended up coming out with this kind of chemical thing, and they resprayed the skies with it, so those things couldn't breathe the air. You know what I mean? But aren't they doing the same thing to us when they're spraying the skies with all these toxic chemicals? You know, aluminum, barium, and all these other heavy metals that we cannot. It poisons us, but it doesn't poison them. It doesn't affect them as much, but it affects the human body. It affects the animals, living things, the soil and the ground. You know, all the living little critters like the earthworms that help, you know, enrich the soil. Like it destroys all that, but leaves these being things, these garbage ass demons, alive. You know, it's wild. It's a wild thing, you know. And a lot of people are gonna look at me and be like, "This guy's a conspiracy theorist." You know, all his followers are conspiracy theorists. But in reality, I call them normies. The reason I call them normies is because they're stuck in that bubble where they just don't comprehend what spiritual warfare is in front of them, you know, because they don't read the Bible, they don't follow Jesus Christ, they just follow what the world is telling them, the worldly pleasure, the big lie, you know. And we're trying to pull as many people away from that lie and get close to the light, the truth, and the only way, which is Jesus Christ. Because let me tell you another thing about me is, when it came to me discovering these things, I wasn't close to Jesus. I'm just going to be real with y'all. I wasn't close to Jesus. But you know what I was doing? Researching conspiracy theories. And it laid me, I digged up this giant rabbit hole And I kept digging and digging and digging and digging, and I realized I couldn't get out of it. Until I digged a little bit more further, and I struck gold. I struck gold. And what was that gold? Jesus Christ. You know? And like Jesus Christ said, He's the life, the way, and the truth. When you're trying to seek the truth, every road that you go, that you're trying to seek the truth, when you're absolutely trying to seek the truth, it always leads to Jesus Christ. That is crazy, right? That is crazy. But a lot of people don't comprehend that. So many people live scientific lives. They live atheist lives. They don't live a spiritual life, a spiritual connection to the Most High. They don't live a spiritual connection to Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. You understand, you know? That's why I tell you, be careful with also, you know, sharing your faith as well. You know, I don't say don't be careful, but you know, like I said, I rock my shirt. I don't care where I go. I rock it. Because I try to get as many people to think about it and be like, why is he wearing that? You know, he looks weird. He don't look like he worships Jesus. You know, and people will judge you and they'll think about it themselves and be like, I'm going to look up this Jesus dude. I'm going to go on the phone and look it up. And of course, when they go on the phone and look it up, there's going to be so many people that are against Jesus Christ and then try to lead them astray again. You know, it's hard to gather up all the sheep in this world and lead them to the shepherd. It's really hard. It really is. It's not an easy thing, you know. But like I said, these demonic beings, you know, they're going to come in peace. But in reality, they're ravaging wolves ready to devour you, man. Oh man, it's a crazy series, man. You man, I encourage you to watch it so you can see the imagery and the symbolism that these things are given, man. And I think I'm gonna go to the next picture. And in the show, they end up making a hybrid. Oh my goodness. And the hybrid is supposedly, you know, the savior, basically. But they make a hybrid because this young woman right here ends up, you know, getting with this alien dude. And they end up, you know, having relations and making a hybrid. But when they made this hybrid, you know, she didn't know that they were aliens because they were still in disguise. So when she had the baby came out, well, like that. Oh, man. Man, she was so afraid. She was like, what the heck is that? Is that my baby? Is that my child? Yeah, that's what came out of her, man. Oh my goodness. Man, that was crazy. When I was watching the show, it was crazy. I was like, whoa. They just, you know. And I guess that was the first hybrid child that was on Earth, you know. So that child was supposedly, you know, special because it was a hybrid between the reptilians and the human. Oh, where did we hear that from? Oh, Genesis, the Bible verse that I just mentioned in the beginning of my live stream. Well, it's right there. You know, they tell us things, man. They don't hide these things. They really don't. And it's just a very scary scenario when these things, you know, they're even experimenting, you know, with the whole Epstein files and all that. You know, it wasn't just about, you know, abusing children in an explicit way, but it was also experimenting and taking their DNA and try to make clones and maybe even hybrids, you know. It was all about experimenting in one way or another. You know, whatever they can make money off of, they will do it. That's why these people are so demonic and so evil, because they can care less about your feelings, empathy, sympathy, any kind of emotion, because they're those kind of creatures right there. They're those little creatures right there. They're demonic beings. They're reptilian humanoids that came from the days of Noah. You know, when the fallen angels interbreeded with the human daughters, the daughters of men. You know, and that's the crazy part about this whole situation. It just gets really, really scary and deep. And like I said, a lot of people, they don't want to take all that in. It's too much for them to process it. You know, it's just too much. But I'm gonna go to the next one. You know, there's always statues like this around the world. A lot of these statues, you know, they try to show you the symbolism, but this is one of the statues. I think this one's in Peru, I think. You know, if I'm wrong, you know, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, this one's in Peru, but look at it. Look at its feet, man. Look at its hands. Look at its face. Like that thing. What? Like why would they build things like that? Why? You know, it's not just for a reason. It's because the powers that be that do build these things, you know, it's all part of, you know, the secret societies. You can say the Illuminati, the Freemasonry, the powers that be, you know, the people who, the person that runs this whole operation, Satan himself. He has children that are like this, you know. And that's why he wants to completely corrupt the image of God, because we are created in the image of God, our Creator, our Heavenly Father. Satan wants to copy that, you know. Satan is the one that, you know, he's a serpent, scales, and all that, you know. But when you put two and two together, we get that crap, you know. Yeah, I mean Diana, yeah, Bonnie. You know, yeah, these all these creatures, man. It's just insanity sometimes. It's just we can't, you know. Now we can't even say it's a conspiracy theory. We have to say it's becoming a reality at this point, and you know, you know, and yeah, the T Rexes. I can, you know, in well, this is my opinion. You know, I feel like the T Rexes they were, you know, from the days of Noah. You know, they were hybrids, you know what I mean? And they created these giant monsters, these giants that roamed the earth, you know? We can't necessarily assume that there were just giant humanoids, because I'm pretty sure there was monsters too, and you know, things that we probably can't comprehend, you know? There's so much secrecy when it comes to the powers that be and Satan, how he deviously hides these things. It's just insanity. But yeah, that's one of those statues right there. I'm gonna go to the next picture and see how the man. I'm telling you, why would they create these statues? Like it makes no sense. Oh, because it looks cool. Why would they detail it so well and make it, you know, for us to like study it? You know, like if you completely think about it, you know, like, you know, the statue of the Baphomet, for example, like that. Like, why would they create a statue that looks like that, you know, with the goat head, you know, with boobies, and it has a male part, you know, down there and all that. And why would they create that, you know? Because these demonic beings, you know, they were created by whom? It wasn't God. Then who? And if God didn't create these things, then who did? Satan. That's the only thing that we got is Satan, and the fallen angels created these things, you know, because we know that a third of the angels fell from heaven because of Satan himself, because he needed these minions to create other abominations, you know. This goes deep, man. This goes deep. Yeah, I remember Diana. Yeah, you know, but that was a lie for today, man. I hope you got a little bit of knowledge and you know, understanding, wisdom, and discernment. To you know, I'm glad that you guys stayed for my live stream. You know, I thank you so much. God bless you. You know, you guys are awesome. You know, I know I'm pretty sure everyone else is asleep. I'm pretty sure you know, I'm gonna make another live again on part two on the newest version of V, because there's two versions. There's the 1984 one, and there's the one that was made like in 2000, like 13, 14. I don't know, but it's more modernized. I think the modernized version is a little bit more scarier because it goes more into detail than the original V, which is insane because in the original V, the special child, the hybrid, was there to save all humanity, but in the new version of V is the total opposite. So which makes it more closer to what these beings really are capable of doing. But good night, everybody. Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna go make dinner, go grub. I'm gonna be praying for all of you. I'm always pray for all of my subscribers all the time. You know, regardless of the situation, I try to pray for all of y'all because I want you to be close to Jesus Christ and have a spiritual connection with the Most High, so we can continue exposing this darkness in this world, because we are the ones that shine bright. You know, when you shine bright in this world, you shine brightness into the darkness, and some of these people, they want to pull away from the darkness. They want to gravitate towards your light. They want to be like your light. You know, and the way you can tell them is through Jesus Christ. You know, from breaking bondages from sins, breaking the chains of sin, and accepting the fact that we are all sinners. We are all sinners. We are all filthy creatures. Filthy, filthy creatures. And the only one that can cleanse us is through the blood of the Lamb, Jesus Christ. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys around. Peace.